Well, hello there, and welcome to My Career So Far, our third episode, Josh.
Yes, it is episode 3, and we have got an absolutely cracking guest on the podcast today.
It's Danny Mylo, another Yorkshire powerhouse.
Yes, obviously we had Steph Hurst last episode. Do check that out if you haven't listened already.
Danny Mylo is somebody that I've wanted to speak to for a while. I've always found his show, especially with Rosie, amazing and an example for all breakfast shows, as you'll hear in this episode.
Yes, definitely something that's talked about a lot in the Shock Office.
So it was amazing to even get the chance to speak to somebody like that. And he's brilliant, and we can't wait for you to hear this one. Take it away, Josh.
It is the wonderful Danny Mylo on My Career So Far.
My Career So Far.
Danny Mylo, hello.
Hello, Kira. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Nice to hear your voices. Yeah, all good this end. All good. You both all right?
Yes, we're really good. I'm so excited for this.
Oh, dear.
No,
Dear,
but-
don't lower your expectations.
Don't say that.
She's always very excited whenever we interview someone, to be honest.
I am.
Oh, well, that makes me feel very special, so thank you.
Oh. Right, so shall we start with, how did you first get into radio?
Oh, very young age, right? So I remember the story when I became fascinated about radio. I remember I was in my dad's old Mondeo car. It was like a proper banger of a car. And we were driving to a shopping centre. And I remember whoever was on the radio, it was Magic 8 to 8 at the time, back in the day. And I remember someone made me laugh. And I'm like, oh, hello, how is this working? How is someone that's not in the same room as me, how are they able to put a smile on my face? And then I just became obsessed, and then I started, listening around all the radio stations and thinking, this is great, this is radio. And from a very young age, I was just then got obsessed with jingles, got obsessed with music, did the whole create your own radio show on cassette. In my mum and dad's bedroom on their little karaoke machine that they had, and then I just started asking for things for Christmas. I want a CD player, and then trying to build my own studio so I could make the show sound better. And it just from there, really, just from that one moment where I was in the car with my dad, and he was letting me play. I think it was the first time I actually sat in the front seat of the car as well. So I was like faffing around with the radio, and I love my buttons and whatnot. So. Yeah, the technical side of it, it just came from that moment, I think.
That's the fun part of radio. We've got all this desk in front of us and all the buttons and knobs. It's so fun, so fun.
Yeah, it's good because you feel like whoever is driving the desk, it's like it's theatre of the mind is radio. So you're orchestrating a room. So you've got your other co-presenters in. If you've got someone from news, you ultimately are in control of what goes out on the air, and you can add beds, you can add sound effects, you can have this magical world that you are creating just with all your buttons and stuff, and it's just you're like the orchestrator. It's good.
So, what was your first radio job then? I
remember I did work experience. They asked me at school, what do you want to do for work experience? And this is obviously, I'm 14 years old now, and this was just before I think I started at hospital radio, and said, look, I want to go and I want to be on the radio, so I want to go to a radio station. And she went, I can't really do that. That's not in the book. Do you want to go to an accountant's or do you want to go to a school? And I'm like, no. So I sent some emails myself. At that point. So this squeaky little 14-year-old emails Ridings FM, which was my local radio station in Wakefield. It's now a greatest hits, like the rest. And they said, yeah, come in, do a couple of days work experience. So I was just there, and I'm seeing these radio studios, and I'm just fascinated, with everything to do with it. So I think I got annoying at one point because I was just asking them, I was just saying, all right, what does this do? What was this? And show me how this works. And I remember just sitting and watching, and I've done that with every kind of show that I've sat on, and you just take the best bits out of it. And so Ridings FM was the first kind of proper radio station that I went in. Obviously, I didn't get a show on there. And then I remember on somewhere in an advert in a paper somewhere, my mum said, look, they're launching a new community radio station in Morley, which is not far from us. and they're looking for presenters. Now, no one wanted to do it, right? No one wanted to do the breakfast show because they had to get up really early. So at 15, on this community RSL, they gave me the breakfast show, and I was, pardon the pun, shocking.
I see what you did there.
Rubbish.
See what you did there.
Yeah, I was rubbish, but and still squeaky. So I listen back to those shows now, and that the audio I still got some, but it's locked away deep in a vault somewhere. So Morley FM was kind of my first one, and then I was knocking on the door for Hirsty's Daily Dose at Galaxy again at 15, 16. Can I come in? Can I make some tea? Can I help you out? Is there anything? And again, I remember just sat watching, and I know you've had Hirsty on your podcast before.
Yeah.
And just watching Hirsty master that desk and again orchestrate that room that Hirsty's Daily Dose was. It was just something that I'd never seen before, and it was like, I want to do that. That is the coolest job in the world. And yeah, so they kept having me in. Kirsty took me under her wing for a little bit, and well, I say a little bit, forever, and so I was just helping out, which was great. And then you start learning jobs, and I remember there used to be a national version of that show that went out, which just had like kind of more local references cut out, which was like the digital producer job, like basically an assistant producer. And Scott Myers, who did that job, he was off one day, and they rang me and they said, "Look, you know how to do it. Do you fancy doing it?" And I went, "Absolutely yes." So at this point, I think I'm 16 and I start bunking off college because I wanted to do that. So I'd just like miss all the morning lessons that I had at college because I was at Galaxy, and then I'd turn up every afternoon and they'd say, "Where have you been?" And I'd say, "Oh, at Galaxy." "You need to stop doing that. You need to come here and do your A-levels." And then it got to the point where Scott Myers then left when I was 17, and they offered me the job full time there, which I said, yeah, it wasn't even a thought in my head. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Obviously, you've got your concerned parents saying, "Do you want to leave education? Do you want to? Are you sure this is the right thing?" And I went, "Well, yeah, yeah." I didn't like sociology. Boring.
What a cool excuse, though, to not be in college.
What, having to go to Galaxy?
Yeah.
I remember I were obsessed with it as well, and I thought, oh, I'm really cool. And I remember I once got one of the Galaxy crew jackets, and I wore it like it was, and I wore it like, and now looking back, I think, oh, that's so embarrassing. But I was proud to work there. I was buzzing that they'd have me. So on an afternoon, that's what I wore. I slept in it.
I definitely want one of those jackets.
I've seen what
I've
they
got
look
one.
like.
I've got one. You know what? You can have it.
It's just like, I find radio merch cool anyway, but to have like merch from Galaxy.
Yeah, the original. I've actually got the. This is how sad. Look, I'm glad. Please don't find me sad when I'm saying this, because I secretly I am a absolute radio geek. I love everything to do with it. However, the cool persona that I have to portray, it's not cool to have a light up Galaxy sign in your bedroom at the age of 19. Imagine bringing girls back. Right? How's that work? What is that on your wall?
Oh, it's just a logo for a radio station at workout. Don't ignore that. Ignore that.
Yeah. And when they had the rebrand, so they got rid of the old Galaxy Itza logo and whatnot, and they rebranded it to something when Global took over, and so all the office merch was going, and there was literally getting rid of all the old branding, and my eyes lit up when the email went round saying, "Does anybody want anything?" I remember going in with a screwdriver, and I just stripped the place.
That is what we do. That though, we're very much like that.
I've still got the Galaxy sign. It's outside. It still works. It's not up on a wall now because my missus will not allow it in the house. But it's still there. One day it might be on eBay.
I'll keep a lookout for that. I'll have that.
Yeah, I'll start offloading all the... When we get binned from his job, I'll start offloading all the old merch to try and make a quid.
We'll send you our address in the post.
Yeah, fine. Sealed bids welcome.
Right, so after Galaxy, where did you go next?
I went to... So again, this is still Still off air at this moment, so I'm still just behind the scenes doing assistant producing bits, and using obviously Galaxy's studios to make demo tapes. And once you're in the building, it's so useful to have all that at your disposal to be able to create demos. You've got other presenters there, so it was an absolute dream team on Galaxy when I worked there. So you had Erstie's Daily Dose on the morning, then you had Dixie on mid-mornings, then you had Bodge, then Dan O'Connell, who's now on Radio X, he did afternoons, Dave Kelly on evenings. It was just the best radio station lineup that I think I've ever... Well, now still, I think to this day, that is just your absolute superstar lineup, all put together by the legend that is Mike Cass, who is now in charge of Virgin. After that, I went to Real for a bit, Real Radio, which is now Heart. That's where Dixie works now. We're all good mates. It's a very, very small industry, so we all love each other. And I did more producing bits there, made some demos, then sent those demos to Pennine FM in Huddersfield. So I remember when I was 18, I got a call there saying from a fella who was called John Harding, and he says, "Look, do you want to come and do weekend breakfast show again? No one can be bothered getting up that early for it." So that was my first paid gig, and I did Saturday and Sundays. And I just remember I just got my driving licence, so I could drive to Huddersfield, which is about 40 minutes away. And yeah, I just loved it. They just left me alone, so I was just kind of messing about. And again, I was still terrible.
But I think that's the point. You've got to build up that experience somehow, even if you're like terrible at first. I mean, student radio. I think it's a place to just have fun and be chaotic. I think
Absolutely, and you should do that because mess about, test the limits, push the boundaries. Because once you get into the world of commercial radio, the fun. I'm not going to say stops, but is restricted. They want everything written down. They want a lot of it formatted. They want, they've got a big brand to protect. And you just by listening around, you can tell which stations and who has formats. But if you can format it and do it well, then everyone's a winner because you're keeping your bosses happy. You're happy. You're still going in and having fun. But it's not just a case like on student radio. It is just a case. I'm thinking, do you still just open the mics and see what happens?
To be fair, we've got better at that. Last year, we used to open the mics and see what happens because we were on at 10 o'clock at night. So everything was like rogue, but now we've got a set plan.
We've got a table and a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet when it comes to radio, like planning where the links are and when the song. I love doing that.
You see, I don't.
Sorry to hear that.
I don't like that. However, what I do think is so useful, if you've got you just know the end of the story and you can reverse engineer however you want that story to play out. So if you've got the end, and now we do so much of the stuff that we do is reverse engineered and it pays off so well. So if you've got a plan there and you know how you want something to finish, maybe it could be a week-long arc, maybe it could be something that lasts, over a few shows where the story builds and builds and builds, and then you've already got your payoff in the bag. That is the cleverest way to do radio if you can do that. And I'm not saying I can do that, but we have a go.
So after that, where was your next heading? So you sent off with all these demos.
Yeah, Radio Air after that. Radio Air in Leeds. It was Bauer. They gave me a couple of weekend shows. And at the time as well, I think because I only did weekends, I was still DJing. I did like nightclubs and whatnot as well at the same time. So loads of student nights up and down the country. But I didn't enjoy that as much as radio. So I obviously I'm still sending demos out, etc. And I remember when I was at Radio Air, I got like a week of daytime cover as well when Griffo was off. Again, very well respected man in the industry and one of my good mates. He's a good guy, and I covered his show. And I remember it just being the best week of my life. That was my first time on proper radio on daytimes, and I was like, oh, this is so what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's when, after that, I went back on weekends and I was eager to get on. So again, more demos went out. And then when I was 21, 2, something like that, I got offered mid-mornings full-time at The Pulse, which is Radio Air's competitor. Now, at the time, they the boss at Radio Air wasn't happy that I was going to leave, but I was like, well, give me a show and then I'll stay. And he went, but there's nothing available. And I went, well, you've just made my decision for me. So I went and he deleted me off Facebook.
That is brutal.
That is horrible.
He did. Thankfully, he's not really in the industry anymore, though, so that's nice. I don't need to ask him for another job. But no, all that stuff. It gets put behind you. But at the time, like if they've got nothing to offer, what do you do? You go where the work is, and they wanted me at Pulse, and then that is history. I've been on that transmitter ever since 2011, I think. So 13 years now, and 10 of those on breakfast.
That's quite brutal. P45, that's fine. Deleting off of Facebook, awful. That's like
No.
the worst punishment.
I hope you had a shite Christmas that year.
Merry Christmas if you are listening.
But to be fair, like that at that age, for me, you don't know really. You're still at the very beginning of your career, and sometimes I listen back to tapes like that, and I thought I probably wouldn't have put me on. I don't think I was good enough to do some of that stuff. But yeah.
How did you feel then when you first got told you were going to breakfast at the Pulse?
I think it felt like it is what you've been working towards. It's literally you've got that moment. They've just said, this is the job. This is the job that you want to do, and they've given it to you, and they paid nothing at the time. Like, it was really rubbish because, again, I was still young, and so anything that they put in front of you on that piece of paper, you're just going to sign at you, and you're just going to go, yeah, I'll do that, because that's what you do. And again, with radio, a lot of the time is you don't do it for the money, because sometimes there's not that much attached to like your first shows and whatnot. You've got to prove yourself and your figures and whatnot. But we were just buzzing because Kirsty actually put me and Rosie together on the pilot. She just got binned from Viking. Hello, guys in the background.
The soundproofing here isn't the best, let's be honest.
Same here. You'll probably hear a toilet flush in my house in a minute. But yeah, so me and Rosie got put together by Kirsty. We did a demo. We loved each other. Me and Rosie, we just fell in love. We were just like, yeah, even if this doesn't work out, we're going to be friends. We like each other, and then yeah, they listened to the pilot. Obviously, put us on, and the rest is just history, as I say. 10 years later, we're still here, which is quite rare for a breakfast show, to be fair.
It's good going. I mean, I was going to ask, how is it working with Rosie? She is a lovely woman. Is she a lovely co-presenter?
Do you know her? Have you met Rosie?
I've never.
Not particularly.
Listen, she is the best human you will ever meet in the world, right? I've got so much love for. I mean, she is the guide parent or godmother, as it be, to my child. Like, so even without radio in the question, off air, just the loveliest and nicest of humans, and there should be more Rosies on the planet. And she's just funny. She just I can't even. There's no words. She's just amazing. And I'm so lucky that I get to spend 4 hours in a box every morning with her.
Can I just say, I saw you and Rosie at the SRA conference earlier this year, and I've been a big fan for a while because I'm a geek.
Oh,
and
thank you, love. Thank you.
Yay, honestly,
geeks assemble.
I've always seen your show as like an example of how to do a breakfast show. So
thank you.
I was going to come up to you, and I was so scared. I thought, I just want to tell them. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I don't know why. And I just walked out the room and regretted it. So I'm glad that I get to tell you this now.
Oh, well, you know what? It means so much, and we never take this job for granted, right? And, unfortunately, you've got to be a realist, and one day it will end. But we've got such the best memories with each other, with our listeners, just the stuff that we've been able to do, like, it's just been amazing. And we're very thankful and very lucky that we've got to be part of this industry.
And I think it is important, local radio, because especially now in a day where it's just a lot of national stations, having that local audience available and being able to have that reach in a area, it must be really important.
Yeah, it is. I think that especially county-wide radio, each county, like for example, Yorkshire, the North East, Derbyshire, it's all it's like if you've got a show that comes from that area, I think it's going to make such more of an impression on your listeners than one that comes from a box in London. I think it's your chemistry, it's your connection, and the locality of you're in that area. So, for example, with us, we know our listeners. We eat where they eat. We shop where they shop. We park on the same streets. We know where the traffic it's busy on their streets. So it just adds that extra dimension to when you're delivering even something as like the travel news. You can just instantly add a little extra reference point in which makes your listeners think, oh, actually, yeah. So if you were to say, right, it's busy at Ainley Top Roundabout, there's been a crash just near to Toby Carvery, you wouldn't have that on a normal travel bulletin, but because you know the area, it just feels so much more natural and matey if you can deliver it in a way like that. So it's useful.
I think that's important, having that. It feels like your audience is just like a friend that you're speaking to, not like just a listener on the radio.
Yeah. We've always said from the start, when we put pen to paper on that breakfast show, we do that show for the people that are listening and not management, and not for us. We do it for those people that are listening. They're ultimately the people that will rule where you go next. And if you can make them happy, they'll follow you.
I think one thing in particular which you've done recently, which highlighted how close you are to your listeners, is when you sent Rosie trick-or-treating for the first time. That was hilarious. I loved that.
She's never been trick-or-treating. And again, this is the back to what I was saying earlier about reverse engineering an idea. So we knew, and it had come up in conversation on the show, I think a few weeks previous, that she'd never been trick-or-treating. So we then got a week's worth of content out of that, because on the Monday I think we did, right, okay, so Rosie's never been trick-or-treating. Is there anything that your mum and dad never let you do as a kid? We just a simple phoner like that. So then that's creating, it's open for the audience, so you'll get a full day of content out of that from people telling you what they weren't allowed to do as a kid, or not allowed, didn't buy them or whatever. And then on the Tuesday, right, okay, so I've arranged for you to go out trick-or-treating. And she's like, oh, have you? First time ever? And I'm like, yeah, because you need to go and experience this before your life is over. And then we do another day of where's the best place to come trick-or-treating. So all your listeners obviously getting in touch with their Halloween stories about, when they used to, either what tricks they used to pull on people, what sort of sweets where people used to give money, like find areas. And again, you are delving into that local market, which you can't do on a national breakfast show. So you're listing actual streets of where's good to go trick-or-treating. And, we've got listeners that are, our street's great, it gets dressed up every year, and it's so-and-so in Murfield. And then you're driving people that wouldn't normally go there to actually go and trick-or-treat in a certain location. And then on the Friday, obviously, or the Thursday, I think whenever Halloween was, we sent Rosie out for the first time, and she loved it. So that ticked that box. The listeners loved it because obviously they get to meet Rosie, and I got some sweets out of it as well. So win-win.
You're a winner there. I tell you what, you're very good at targeting your local audience, and I know that because Alex, Techie Alex, is from your catchment area.
Hey, put him on! Put him on!
Alex! Come here. What? Speak to Danny, because you're from his area. Go on.
I'll come round this side. Put his mic up.
Put his mic up. Go on.
Mic's live.
Go on, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
I was just having a lovely conversation about a darts tournament, and I just panicked. I thought something had broken. I was like, oh my
God. Hey, Alex, whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Wetherby.
Oh, so you are in our patch. So have you listened before then, Alex? Have you been a listener?
I have.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Where do we send the invoice to?
Invoice?
Yeah, invoice. We're charging you for listening. If you enjoyed it, you normally we want to sign you up to Mylo and Rosie Premium.
Put it on the radar diary.
Yeah, that's it.
Manager at shockradio.co.uk.
No
Send it to Alfie, not me.
There's one on its way, but yeah, thank you for having us on, sir. Is there anything that you distinctly remember that we did that was crap?
No. I remember something you did very good was you planned someone's best man speech over summer. I remember listening to that. That was
we did. Yeah. That, again, like outward facing, getting local people on, and helping someone write a best man speech. Yeah, we've done quite a bit now. It's fun. It's weird what you take and it's weird what you remember. But if that's one of, I can't remember doing that, but you can.
Yeah.
Anyway, go back to your darts.
I don't even play darts. It's just some guys like, I want to set up a darts team, and I'm going, yeah, great.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
No worries.
And just to let you both know, now that Alex has gone, Wetherby is a very posh area, so his mum and dad are doing all right. Make him buy the round of drinks.
He's still in the room.
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
It's going now.
Right, I'll go. I'll get out. Thank you.
There we go.
That was lovely.
I told him before this, I said, we will get you in this interview because it just made sense.
Yeah, well, if he's listened before, if he can remember something that I can't about the show, then
It's promising.
good. Yeah. I know. So what do you guys want to do next? Can I ask you? I know it shouldn't be this way around, but what do you guys want to do next?
You go first, Josh.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, I'm loving the producing side of things. Like I said, I like doing the spreadsheet and the table and everything, but I also like presenting because it's nice just to be able to have that platform and like not show your ideas off, but it's just like be able to speak to an audience and speak to you. This is going to be really sad, but Kira has been one of my best mates and we met because of Shock Radio. So she's my Rosie in essence.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's how it starts. You do make friends for life, and if you find someone who you're on the same wavelength with, it's good. It's very rewarding.
Also, we are more than on the same wavelength because we were born on the exact same day, and that's not.
What
Josh
is
has
it?
told you that.
What?
As in, like the exact same day, about 15 minutes apart.
The same year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. There's seriously some telepathic going on between your heads. Then, if you were born on the same day,
not in the same hospital, unfortunately or fortunately, we're like 5 hours from each other.
I'm going to say it's not
Yeah,
the same.
that's cool.
It's not the same mother, is it? Because that's
No,
called twins.
No.
Not that I know of, at least.
I hope not.
No, it's no. When when you find someone, and you two have clearly found it, but once you find someone that you've clicked with, just do everything you can to keep that rapport and to keep that chemistry, because that is the invaluable bit in radio. You can't buy chemistry, and you can always tell when you're listening to people and they don't like each other off the air. And it happens. And if you give me a pint one day, if you buy me a pint, I will tell you the shows where that happens.
Oh.
Next time you're in Manchester, let us know. Send us a message.
Yeah, I will do. Unfortunately, it's not for broadcast.
I don't actually know. I've been really getting into producing since I was here. I think I didn't. So I tried to do some community radio, and I applied for 3 community radio stations, and they all rejected me for the reason of not having any experience. And I got really upset with that at about 16 years old, and then I came. Right, okay. And then that's mean. When I came to Shock, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a presenter. I really want to be a presenter. And then as I started producing shows, I realised I really love the production side of it. And I've just become obsessed with it. And I produced the Student Radio Chart Show on Sunday, and it went really well.
Do you get? Oh, I'm so happy for you. Did you? When you're listening back, you get a little bit of buzz because and that with producing, with that side of it, and we've got an amazing producer, and her name's Jackie Blay, and some of the times when you're going through ideas together, I know that she gets her kicks of us executing that idea out on the air. And her, she's given us pointers, she's given us tips, and she's said, right, we'll do this here, this here. And as it all plays out, I know that she'll get her kicks from hearing that. So you're hearing your work, you're hearing your masterpiece being delivered in the way that you want it. So I can completely see that as well.
Do you know what? I didn't think that my career path would change that much. Of course, right, I love presenting with Josh. And
Thanks, it really means a lot.
I just want to clarify that before I say how much I love producing. But I think I've sort of found my place.
So technically, I think, is this like an exclusive? Are you two just broken up
No,
on the air?
Mike's like, this is the final ever episode of the podcast.
That. No.
No, And the thing is, in this industry, you've got to be like a chameleon. Like I started off producing as well, and I just wanted to go into the presenting side of it because that's ultimately what I wanted. But with the producing side of it as well, that's it's equally as important because someone's got to be there to back up that presenter.
Although I do back both of us up for our own show, though, in fairness.
Yeah, it's a joint effort. I mean, you put in a lot more of the work than I do, but I make the spreadsheet and the table really pretty, and then...
I did all of the imaging for our show, and I sat there for hours, but I loved it. When it finally went out, it was... Because I'd never done anything like that before, and I think when we knew our slot, and it was Drive, I thought, we need to sound really good. So
because you're proud of your work, and that is what the industry needs. People that are so proud of it, and if it's not good enough, don't put it out.
Yeah, and even just like finding good links and like listening back to our show and finding like things we might put in our demo, it's just really like not appreciative, but what's the word? It's just nice to hear our own things and like the thing we put into work with.
And always keep that as an archive, because as you get older, like at the time, you think, oh, it is what it is. It's gone out now. It's done. I regret not keeping so much audio, like of the stuff that we used to do. And it's just like it's gone once it's gone off the power log. Once it's gone off the logger, it's gone. And that's something that I think actually, when later in life, I've got a 1-year-old now, and in 15 years, Will I be still on the radio? I'd like to have something to show him from my career. Not that he'll give a hoot, but I'd like to be able to show him something. But yeah, he's... who knows what radio will be like in 15 years.
Well, on that note, if you could give yourself... final question. If you could give yourself... let me rephrase that.
Do you want me to go for that instead?
Tongue-tied.
If you could give yourself one piece of advice... Or you give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Become an accountant. No. No, not at all. I think just enjoy every second more, because sometimes it gets it goes that fast, and when you're running on adrenaline, and you forget that shows even happen, and you're sat in your box. It just pinch yourself, take a step back, thinking actually, hundreds of thousands of people can hear me now, and because you've on your first show, obviously you'll feel like that. You'll feel nervous, as we all do when you step up behind a new microphone for the first time. But when you've been doing it, and and I'm not becoming complacent, but just forgetting where you are. It's like still for me, this is the best industry and probably one of the most personal industries where you can have such a rapport with your listeners. Among any other industry, telly can't do what we do, and I just think that just take a step back more and just take it all in, and actually realise what you're doing. And this is a job that a lot of people, not that they'd want to do it, but be grateful for it because it's bloody good.
I mean, we were at Hits Radio Live on Saturday, and Tom.
Oh, good. How was it?
It was really fun, actually.
Very good. I've been.
Yeah.
I think, is it 6 years in a row that I've been there, if you avoid 2020? I mean, it's the first time I went to the Manchester one, because I've been to the Birmingham one the last 5 times. But it was still the same. It was really good.
Yeah, and Tom Grennan was there, and he was saying something about how radio is one of like the most powerful, important mediums, because like you're saying, it's nice to have that like connection with your audience and like be able to get your message across that easily.
It is, and I've said this since day one, and I'll continue saying this. My view on radio is, obviously the songs are important. However, I think the bits in between are even more important, especially now. You've got Spotify. People can listen to whatever they want on demand whenever they want. They don't need someone to schedule music for them. They can do it themselves on Spotify. So the wonderful thing of having presenters is make it so people don't know what's coming next. Make it so they don't know what you're going to talk about. They don't know. They're intrigued. They love the chemistry. They love. I hate the word banter, so I'm not going to use it. But they love. They love listening and joining the soap opera of your life. And it's not always just about you. It's always about them, the listener. But to be able, they have the best stories. So get as much content as you can out of the listener, which is, I think, it's what we try and do anyway. And you'll just win on people being interested in what you've got to say. And as long as you keep it nice and not just waffly, as long as you're giving them some content and you're giving them, actually, this is quite a good story, then hopefully they'll keep coming back and tick that Radar diary.
I think they'll always keep coming back to your show. I really think they will. It's just, it's one of those shows, like I said earlier, that it's just so good and it's such a big example. I think your show's been talked about a lot in this office.
Yeah.
As an example of how to do a show. So
well, that's very flattering. Is that? It does mean a lot. I'll tell Rosie that in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah, that's lovely. Is that? Like, again, you never hear of things like that. We're just sat in a box. We're just sat in a padded room, and if we can give somebody some inspiration, or we're always just a Instagram DM away from anybody that's looking to get into the industry, and we both got helped out, so we're obviously, you then pass that baton on, so you give anybody help and advice. Anybody ever wants to come and sit in on a show and have a look under the bonnet, then that's absolutely fine with us. We've no problem at all doing that. We just want to get more people into doing what they love, and we love this, so if we can help somebody, then double thumbs up.
And that's the most important thing, really, and a really lovely note to end on. So thank you for answering our Instagram DM, firstly.
Yeah, no worries, yeah.
I genuinely thought, oh no, he won't do it.
Why? Why did you think that?
I don't know. I think this with everybody. It's like, oh, they haven't got time. They won't do it. And then people like you end up doing it, and it's crazy to me. So
No, not a problem. No, not a problem at all. I think that's the thing about a lot of people in radio as well. They've always got time for other people in radio.
Well, on that note, Danny Mylo, thank you very much for coming on My Career So Far.
No problem.
Sometimes we're funny, sometimes we suck.
That's got quite there. Brilliant. That was lovely.
That's me and Rosie.
yeah, in a nutshell.
We can edit that bit out.
No, we're going to leave that in.
I'm
I
gonna
think.
leave that in.
Well, pleasure to speak to you guys, and keep on being amazing. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, thank you.
We'll send that invoice.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. Love you both lots.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you in a bit.